Welcome to the latest midweek car competition judging video here at BOTB. We'll now hand over to the lawyer from Onside Law who'll oversee the proceedings.
My name is Hannah Kent from Onside Law and I'll be overseeing the judging this morning. Firstly, I can confirm the competition data has already been sent to the auditing company ASETS, and I would now like today's judges to introduce themselves and, using the secure link provided, mark on the screen where they think the centre of the ball should be, and the group will then come to a final panel decision.
Good morning, my name is Matt Cannon. I'm a senior county referee and footballer.
Good morning, my name's Peter Giorgio and I am a futsal and football referee.
Hi, my name is Jeremy Mendonca. I've been involved in football for over 30 years, firstly as a player and then as a referee.
Hi, I'm Jenna Scalacci, former professional footballer. I'm now a head coach in the Tottenham College programme.
Hi, my name is Matthew Ray. I've affiliated in multiple counties across England, currently in Gloucestershire, and have refereed from grassroots through to professional academies.
My name is Chloe Morgan and I'm goalkeeper for Crystal Palace Women.
My name's Liam Walsh. I'm a retired referee, currently an FA observer and head coach for the Middlesex Referees Academy.
Hi, my name's Renee Hector and I'm a football player for Watford FC Women and I'm a coach for Tottenham Hotspur Foundation.
Good morning, my name's Andy Braithwaite and I'm a football referee, mentor and licensed observer.
Good morning, my name is Leo Donnellan. I'm an ex-professional football player, having been with Chelsea, Fulham and Leyton Orient.
Good morning, judges. Please now come to a final panel decision. For your reference, the larger white cross is a calculated average of the 10 individual selections.
Thank you very much, Hannah. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Morning. Morning.
Now, before we begin, there's a slight change in the voting. And what we're going to be doing going forward is voting per person. And the person who's possibly to be removed or won't get a chance to vote for themselves. And the reason for this is once we come to the 5-5, all 10 of us equalise, then I have the casting vote. I don't think it seemed to be fair because it's my casting vote. So if everyone understands that, so for example, if we're going to remove myself today, it'll be up for you 9 judges to vote without me voting. So there'll always be a disparity in the numbers. Yep, all makes sense?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
okay, thank you. So we got 2 players in shot, a player in blue and a player in white. The player in white looks like he's got his knee up and he's on his way up to head a ball. He looks like because he's leaning back to me, he looks like he's sort of not quite coming to meet the ball fully, but maybe trying to get a snick onto it. And his arms are up, his hands are clenched, I think ready to sort of pull back to get the final height on his jump. The player in blue behind's got his arm out, which suggests the player in white is coming towards him and he looks quite static and then he's looking up in the direction of the ball. And we've got quite a wide spread, not necessarily from this guy. He's looking up there through Andy's and then the lower level there through Peter's. So we've got a fairly good spread top to bottom. And from this player in white, we've got a couple of good eyes. This one you can see his pupil, and I thought he was looking quite steeply. And this one you can just see a little bit, but not a full eye. So at the beginning, Jenna, I'll come straight to you. I've highlighted yours. Yours is sort of in the middle of this main cluster in the middle here. How did you see what was happening?
I saw player in white. I think his knees in the air, so he's just getting ready to take off to come and meet the ball. His arms, as you say, his fists are clenched. I don't think he's about to make that header immediately, but he's just like preparing to bring his arms back to meet the ball. Player in blue, I felt that he was looking quite flat, so I've gone a little bit lower from his eye line. And the player in white, I've taken quite a lot from his head. I know his eyes look like they're quite over to one side, but I've taken quite a bit from his head being tilted back.
Yeah.
And that's where I've joined up the 2 eye lines, and that's where my cross is there.
Great, thank you. And next to you, Ari, you're just slightly below Jenna's, and again in this main cluster in the middle. How did you see this photo? I'm highlighting yours and now I'll magnify.
Thanks, Matt. Well, I agree completely with the analysis of Jenna. I felt that player in white is struggling a little bit to adjust to get to this ball. He doesn't look completely comfortable, but definitely he is going to be the one heading the ball. The player in dark blue over there, yes, his head slightly tilted back, and then when I drew my lines, I decided that the center ball should be where it is.
Yeah, great. Thank you. And I'm going to stick in this central cluster just so you're aware. So Liam, I'll come to you next. You're just ever so slightly to the right of this main cluster. How did you see the photo and what was happening?
Much the same as Jenna and Ari have described, I'm afraid, Matt. I just felt that the balls, for me, I accept what you're saying about the steep eye line, but for me, it was just that angle in front. I felt because of his head being tilted and his body sort of like slightly adjusting. I felt there was a bit more. He was getting up to the header, so it wasn't imminent. There was a little bit of distance between, where the ball is from his head, and I just felt the blue guy was just keeping an eye on the situation. He had no challenge on the ball whatsoever, and he had a clear, unobstructed view. And again, I've gone where the two lines met, my friend.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, what would you think of the trajectory of the ball? Do you think it's sort of coming down at him, or? Yes.
Sorry about it. Yeah. I think it's one of those just dropping in. We see it all the time, dropping into even the midfield or into the back four. Looping down. And that's why the defender's got sort of like distance between him and what would be the attacker.
Yeah, and also, as we all know, that when the ball does drop like that, it can shift a bit, hence not necessarily meeting it full on, but no, thank you for that. And then, Rennie, you're just here to the right of Liam's, highlighting yours. And how did you see this?
Yeah, similarly to everybody else, the only thing that I would add is, which is why I put it a little bit to the right, just because I went with the player in white's eye line, and obviously he's not at the top of his jump yet. He's still got a little way to go, so he's still got to, push off with his right leg and then put his arms down. And I didn't think the ball would be immediately above his head, because in that case, then it would probably sail over his head if that was the case. So I just put it a little bit more in front because I didn't think the contact was imminent.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And then now you, Matthew, you're just highlighted here. You're just above this sort of cluster. How did you see this?
Yep, I think player in white, his head's tilted back, his eyes are looking upwards, and as Ari said, there's a bit of a position readjustment. I think this ball's coming over the top of him, but he's going to try and meet it with a header. So I don't think it's imminent. I still think he does have to reach the top of his jump yet, but mainly based on his eyes, and then the player in blue, the angle of his head as well as his eyes, I think is giving me the up and down on the picture, and that's where I've placed the centre of the ball.
Okay, thanks very much. And lastly, I'll count you as in the cluster, Leo, here. You're just above the line of Peter and myself and just a little bit to the left of the cluster. How did you see this?
Hi, Matt. Yeah, I think the player in whites is going to head the ball. I don't think the player in blue is going to head the ball. I think the direction of the ball is, as we're looking at the screen, is going from right to left. So I think he's adjusting to get to the ball. I think it's pretty much directly above his head, but he's adjusting his body to meet the speed of the ball as it's coming in. So yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Great, thank you. So we've got that's the sort of the main cluster, I would call it. And now I'll go round the outside. I'll go to you, Chloe, first. You're quite a way above everybody and to the right. How did you see what was happening? I'll put the magnifier over your choice here.
Yeah, so again, sort of fairly similarly to everybody else. I think the main difference, I think, the similarity, I think, in the blue player is that I agreed with a lot of the judges on the sort of eye line being at about 45 degrees. And that sort of is quite similar to everyone else. I think the difference is in the white player. given his position in the photo and that he's at the same level as the blue player, I didn't have him as heading the ball as imminently, I think, as the rest of the judges. I felt that it was still a little bit of a way out. And I think given that his arms are outstretched in front of him, I would expect that if it was more imminent, his arms would be pulled back, I suppose, in anticipation of going through the ball a bit more. So that was my take. And I think in terms of where his eye line is and how the ball seems to be dropping down, to me it is still steep, but still a little bit further out in front of him towards the right of the photo.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. And I'll come, Andy, to you. You're just here, not quite as high as Chloe's choice, but you were a more central. How did you see the photo and what was happening?
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, for me, the guy in white, I don't think the ball's coming in as sort of sharply as people are thinking from right to left. I think it's dropping literally from top to bottom type of thing, because I feel that his body language, he's about to jump, or he's about to start his jump. If he was going to power through it, I think he would be sort of face onto the ball, if you like. So his body language to me is telling me like he's twisted. He's literally hopping off of one foot to try and to just try and sort of get a flick onto it, or literally just dropping down onto his head. The guy in blue, as has been said, he's got his arm out, just fending him off. He's leaning backwards onto him. He's got no input on the ball at all. But I've taken from his eye line the steepness of my cross, and the guy in white, as I say, the ball is literally just slightly in front of him. But if you look at his whole body, it's like central through his body, and that's why I've placed the centre of my ball there.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much, Andy. Great explanation. And lastly, Peter, you're at the lowest, just below my own choice, magnifying yours now, and then putting the magnifier over the top of your choice. How did you see the photo?
I saw it in regards to the player in white. Actually, he was already going up, and the player in blue has actually shoved him. So that's where he's got I felt there was a twist in his body, and because of that. And if you look at the player in blue, I thought his trajectory was lower. And if you look at the player in white, his fists they're already clenched. So that's why I felt that he was already going up, but he's been pushed by the player in blue, but he's still trying to keep an eye on the ball as it's coming down to him. So that's where I put the centre of the ball.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, obviously, we have a sort of central cluster of 6, as I've described earlier, and 4 outliers. I'm going to remove Chloe's because I think she's far enough away to make quite a difference to this big white average that we see, and dropping it into the middle of the top and bottom. And if I then go over the top of this calculated average, that you've got Andy and Peter's outside and mine just popping out. So what we're going to do is going to go in each decision. Again, if we take them out, I'm still popping out ever so slightly. So we're going to go with individually to see whether we want to remove Andy's individually. So if I take Andy first, who's quite a bit higher now than everyone else now, taking Chloe's out, which brings the calculated average down a little bit lower. I will also, I think, to make it a little bit easier, redraw this line up, which again takes us into the right-hand side through Rene's to make this quadrant a bit less. And as you see with Andy's up high, it does raise it slightly, but a lot of pixels in the photo. So firstly, can we have a vote? And as I said before, Andy, you won't be voting on this one. Yep. For Peter, so Andy to be removed. And I do think you need to as well, which is the complicated part of this, take into consideration if we remove Andy's and then we remove Peter's, where this calculated average goes. And then again, myself, and whether we basically want to end up with that, with 3, 4 of us removed, or whether you like to see one or the other left in. So if I take myself and Peter out, as you see, it moves up and just encompasses the bottom of Andy's. If we remove Andy and leave Peter and myself in, it does drop down again. But again, they're both outside. So if that's all understandable, I'll go with Andy at first. So Peter?
Without Andy.
Without. Okay, thank you. Ari?
So at the moment we are voting for Andy.
Yep, to whether to keep Andy in with this average.
I would keep Andy in.
Yep.
Because
Okay.
I felt that the ball is more the player in white is not in a position to head the ball just yet. I don't feel the ball is lower than the crosses of Peter and Matt.
No, I understand that, but yeah.
So that's why I would keep Andy's in, because I think it's more representative where I think the ball is.
Okay, I would counter that by saying if we keep Andy in, it's actually further away from your cross. So that's what you've got to consider. I think it's very difficult as when they look at this panel, we've got to justify what we're saying, and it's got to be correct. So Andy's in, it's further away from your choice.
But the cluster itself,
yep.
So I'm at the bottom of this cluster.
Yep.
So that's the reason.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, thank you very much. Jenna?
Out.
Thank you. Matthew?
I'd keep Andy in.
Yep. Wonderful. Thank you. Chloe?
I would keep Andy in. I think there's now a balance between Andy and Peters. I think they're almost equidistant apart from the white cross. So I think to remove Andy, you'd probably have to remove Peters. That would be my take.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I'll do this because it is a slightly more complicated voting system. So by keeping them both in, as you said, it is balanced. But as I said before, and I've said many times, although it does move a little bit, it shifts enough pixels to make it understandable. That's great. Liam?
Wow. I've got an overall sort of comment, but that individually for Andy, you want this on an individual basis. I think, that's what you're asking for. Yeah.
On a voting point. Yes. I think it's the only way to get a balanced view. Yeah.
Sorry, Andy, I feel your cross is slightly too high. So I vote for you to be removed.
Okay, thank you. Renee?
Andy out.
Andy out. Okay. And lastly, Leo?
I will keep Andy in.
Okay. Thank you. Well, on this 1, 2, 3, we have 5 to remove and 4 to leave in. So we'll remove Andy's now. And now we're going to go to a vote for Peter at the bottom here. So again, it's whether to remove Peters, where again, this calculated average goes up higher into the cluster a little bit more towards Jenna's cross. So I'll start again. Obviously, Peter, you won't be voting for this. Ari?
To remove.
Remove. Okay, thank you. Jenna?
To remove.
Okay, thank you. Matthew?
To remove.
Yeah. Chloe?
To remove.
Okay, thank you. Liam?
I agree to remove, please.
Renee?
To remove.
And Leo?
To remove.
And sorry, Andy as well.
To remove.
Okay, so that's quite clear that we're going forward. And lastly, it's my own choice here. So it's just as we go into this calculated average, just sticking out the bottom. So if I remove mine, it just goes slightly up and in between, just above Ari's and between the rest of the 5. So again, with a vote to remove or not to remove myself, I obviously not voting. Peter?
In.
Yeah. Ari?
I would keep in.
Thank you. Jenna?
Yeah, I'd keep in as well.
Okay, thank you. Matthew?
Can you just toggle yourself on and off again, Matt, for me, please?
Yeah. That's on. That's out. So it just goes ever so slightly up.
Yeah, I'd keep you in.
Okay, thank you. Chloe?
Yeah, I'd keep in.
Okay, thank you. Liam?
Keep you in.
Great. Rennie?
I'd actually remove you.
Okay, thank you. Andy?
I'd remove.
Thank you. And lastly, Leo?
I will take you out.
Okay, great. Okay. So it's a clear 6-3 to keep myself in. So great debate, everybody, and apologies for the elongated voting system. We're hoping it's not going to be 3 times every week. Hopefully we'll be a bit cluster friendly in the future. But Hannah, after a good discussion, we've decided to continue with this average shown here with a big white cross with Andy, Chloe and Peter's choices removed.
Thank you, judges. If you're all happy, then please click submit. Thank you, judges. The coordinates selected are 2376 and 1173. These coordinates will now be passed to the auditing company Azets to calculate the winner of the competition, and they will then inform BOTB. That concludes the judging process. Thank you.